I've stopped singing Sum 41.
Yeah.
The song that I hate.
Did you always hate? Yeah, you always hated Sum 41.
Fat Lip was okay.
Yeah.
And then everything else.
That's such a dad thing to say. Are you listening to the Fat Lip?
That Fat Lip was good. No, it was one of those things. My biology partner knew that I hated. Is it In Too Deep or something like that?
Yeah.
So he'd sing it to enrage me during.
In Too Deep was annoying just because of the amount that it was played.
Yeah.
But I liked Sum 41. I was very much like a pop punk kind of kid. Is it pop punk or punk rock?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Skater. Jazz.
It's such a blend of weird stuff because and people like Dave Grohl confuse it even more because he insists that the Foo Fighters is punk rock, and I never really thought Foo Fighters was punk rock.
I'd say Nirvana was punk as well, or Soundwave or something.
Yeah.
Wave, I don't know.
It's grunge, isn't it, Nirvana? Check shirts and depression.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Well, did you see Post Malone? Was it last week?
No.
Do you know Post Malone?
Is that like Postman Pat?
Kind of, but with more face tattoos. He does. He's like a. I think he's definitely a musician.
Is he the one that touches kids?
Listened to enough. That what?
Is he the one that had the inappropriate relationship with like a minor?
I don't think so.
Weird, funny hair, face tattoos. He donated a load of money to a kids' charity last week, and they gave it back.
I don't know. I don't want to condemn him, but he seems like a nice guy.
Well, we do have the power. I know exactly who I'm thinking of. Let me just Google it real quick.
Postman Pat delivered loads of inappropriate parcels to loads of unwilling children. Post Malone.
Yeah. No, it's not him. No, I was thinking of someone else. They look similar though. They look similar. The guy I'm thinking of has green hair.
Oh, Jacksepticeye, eh?
Yeah. Never mind.
No. Anyway, Post
sorry.
Malone.
Post Malone.
I haven't heard much of his music, to be fair, but he's done a lot of like podcasty stuff. Been on guests on loads of different podcasts. But he did a live charity fundraiser performing, doing like a Nirvana concert.
Yeah.
Like just covered loads of Nirvana songs with Travis Barker from Blink-182. I think it's 182 anyway, and some other guys. And hearing another person sing a lot of Nirvana songs was very strange. There's one he did About a Girl, which was pretty good. But everything else was like, it feels very weird.
Yeah.
But so everyone interprets music in different ways.
Yeah, there's certain stuff
Punk
that...
rock.
And I think it's different to everybody. I think it depends what it means to you, but stuff like Nirvana, it feels kind of untouchable. It's like when people... It's maybe specific songs, I don't know, but it's like when people cover... I've heard people cover Bohemian Rhapsody, and I'm just like, don't cover Bohemian Rhapsody. Like... Yeah.
Maynard from Tool covered Bohemian Rhapsody with Pucifer, and it was like, it was good, but it was good because it was like, it was a different song. Like it wasn't like we're trying to be Bohemian Rhapsody. It's like, we're just going to do Bohemian Rhapsody because we think it's fun.
Yeah.
So let's do it. It kind of
that's the thing at the end of the day. Do what you want, I guess. Like it's that argument I have with myself, which is just like, just let people do whatever the fuck they want, but at the same time, don't fuck this up.
Well, again, the music means different things to different people, but you'd expect musicians who like love music to see it in a bigger way. I mean, I think. Did you watch Antiviral Wipe this week?
No. What?
No, you ever watched? Do you find a Charlie Brooker?
Oh yeah. Oh, is that his show? I haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah, he did like weekly.
He did
wipe,
news wipe and weekly wipe, and he does the yearly wipe and all that stuff.
Yeah, he used to, and then he's been brought back to do a coronavirus wipe, which came out on Thursday or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, apparently loads of pop stars have been releasing motivational songs. Like Lady Gaga's been releasing emotional tributes that I just didn't really realise. So, I don't know. I guess
I knew about the weird... What was that shit one that happened a while ago? Imagine. I know a bunch of them did Imagine, and that was terrible.
Yeah, but I think they're all like actors. So
yeah,
it's kind of
they were all actors
like,
apart
Will Ferrell
from...
did it. You're like, all right, doesn't have to be that serious.
And Sarah Silverman was in it, I think, a bit. But then I think a load of comics did, in the same vein, but like in all seriousness.
They performed Delirious. Just in segments.
Oh God, I can't remember which one it was, but they did a Weird Al song, and it was this week. Something about eating, something about starving. I can't remember what it is. I can't remember. But yeah, they did a really serious version of a Weird Al song. It was it was quite
pretty
good.
funny. It's a good response.
Yeah,
it kind of works.
And Sarah Silverman was in it again.
She's everywhere.
I'll do all of them. I'm
Sarah
ironic.
Silverman's great. So she's got a comedy stamp of approval.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, how's your week been?
Good. Busy again. Like more. I feel like I'm doing. I feel like I'm working like just more than fucking ever at the minute. Like 50, 60 hours. Like it's just, which for me is a lot.
Yeah. Well, you've got a life.
Yeah. It's fucking exhausting. But I don't know. Like apart from that's the thing. Like I feel like I'm kind of in a bubble for like a full week, and then I step out of it and talk to you, and you're like, "What's happened?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
I've just been things.
Yeah.
Just been mindlessly walking through life.
Yeah. The weeks are absolutely flying. It's fucking like I understand people getting bored in their houses if they're stuck and whatever, but like 2 months to me has absolutely disappeared.
Well, do you think it's been productive at least?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
So it's not just like being busy. It's like, I know, getting stuff done. Getting stuff done. Yeah, been a weird one for me this week. Weird week. Well, not weird. It's just more. Been trying to figure out how to talk about this on the podcast, or how to talk about it with other people, I guess.
Right.
But because it's somewhat taboo, but I don't think it should be, but it kind of feel like it is. I've been speaking for the past month or so. I've been chatting with old friends about life and trying to get in touch with stuff. And there was a weird realization where, hang on, sorry, let me just turn this off. There's a weird realization where we were talking about just previous relationships, and I've been very open about like old relationships in terms of like I've been in a few toxic relationships, I've been in a lot of bad relationships, but we got talking quite openly about the idea that we had been in abusive relationships.
Okay. Which is
quite it's a weird term, abuse, I think, because if you look up the dictionary definition, I was surprised to realise that I've been in a lot of abusive relationships, but I'd always just put them down to people are just fucked up and weird.
Yeah.
But you kind of can't really escape the idea that there's a lot of damage within me, like floating around.
Oh yeah.
I'm screaming at people on the street. I'm uncomfortable in hospital waiting rooms when there's supportive families around.
Yeah.
I find that strange. But yeah, there's a weird thing. I came to a weird realization that I've been in I've experienced a lot of abuse, I guess is the word. But do you know what I mean? It's a weird tarred brush. Like, yeah. I'm 6'4". Not many people have physically abused me successful. Yeah. But I've been in a lot of situations where I could have, the physical threats were an issue.
Well, with guys, they always say it's like more mental abuse, I guess.
Yeah, and there's 150% been loads of mental or psychological abuse. But I just never really thought to label it like that. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, it's just something that happened. Or something that happens, and you just kind of like figure out how to deal with it. But the interesting thing was, I think that's made a lot more sense about why I feel uncomfortable, making my bed without a machete. You know what I mean? Like why I don't give a fuck about politics, why I don't care about these bigger issues, or in quotes bigger issues, because it's like, well, there's more short-term problems in the world that I've become incredibly aware of. So trying to figure out, well, who's going to be the next, water MP of China. I don't care. It doesn't make any sense to me. But something funny happened. This is all leading up to the funniness. I went on to, because I thought, well, I didn't realise that I'd been through this kind of stuff, and the realisation that I've experienced this has made me more aware and more therapeutic in terms of exploring it. So I've been like, hey, how do I kind of spread the word? Hey, if you're a guy, especially I think it's specifically male abuse as well, seems to be more relevant to me, because I can't talk about domestic abuse in a lot of different situations. But hey, if there's guys out there that have experienced bad times and they don't really realise why, then maybe they should look into it. So I looked into a charity organisation called mankind.org and was trying to figure out contact information. Weird note, they're only open, they've got a phone line that's open 8 hours a day, Monday to Friday. So if you're being abused during the week, during the work day, then it's all good.
Yeah.
But if you're on a weekend or something, it's kind of screwed. So I tried to get into contact with them. I was like, have they got an email? Have they got a web chat? Have they got something like that? And there's a button at the top. There's a button around the top of the page that says, "Click here to escape." I was like, oh,
It's
so
a
like
bit extreme.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, maybe that's the contact information. It's like, click here to start the journey.
It just closes the window.
It just closes the whole window. Which at the time I was coming to terms with, maybe I've suffered abuse my whole life.
Just
maybe
a
this is
glimmer
all
of
this thing.
false hope.
Yeah, explains all this stuff. It's like, oh look, I can escape. Click on it. It just sends you to Google. You're like, go Google your problems away. Oh, there is no escape. There's just nothing. And it took me a while to realise, because I looked at a bunch of other sites, that it's a panic button if you're looking at the website with an abusive partner in the room.
Right.
And they're like walking towards you, quick, click here, and they won't know.
That makes complete sense.
Yeah, but I didn't realise that straight away. I was just laughing my arse off. Just maybe there's hope. Maybe there's something. Oh no. Nope.
See ya.
Yeah. So that just made me laugh more than it should have probably. But yeah, it got me. I've been going through a weird self-management and self-exploration phase of just going through and trying to figure out how to different things. I realised I've talked about being switched on quite a lot, right? And how I think everybody needs to switch on and most people don't. And sorry, just to finish off the abuse segment. I remember 10 years ago I ended a genuine, pretty bad abusive relationship. And
I knew this one,
when I
right?
ended it. Sorry?
I think I knew this one, right?
Yeah, you knew this one.
Yeah.
And when I ended it, I consciously made the decision to turn myself off, as in to switch off, and could like shut down a load of different emotions and stuff like that. I remember consciously doing it, and I remember thinking, I'll be like Dr. Cox. That was my realization at the time. I'll just be like suppress rage and just kind of bring it out. That was my role model at the time. So I remember doing that, and I think that now, as I've reached this kind of realization of understanding a lot of different stuff, I've been like, oh, I can feel myself kind of switching back on again, kind of powering back up, which feels kind of good. And it's because I now understand loads of things about myself, or I've been able to explain or understand different parts of my personality. Like, I mean, self-image has never been a thing for me, and I used to put it down to just incredible confidence, but apparently like not caring about your self-image is apparently a side effect of psychological warfare. I don't and this is the thing, this is why I think it's a weird terminology of I've gone through a lot of abuse, because I think abuse just feels like you're more you've suffered more, right? I don't feel like I've suffered, I feel like I've experienced. So when I say like, oh, I'm a victim of abuse, you just be like, there are other people who are more victims of abuse than I. So how can I? It's a weird kind of terminology. But in terms of just realizing, well, this could explain a bunch of different things. Opens it up to, well, if you weren't this way before, and then you've suddenly started taking on bad habits, maybe it's not a personality flaw, maybe it's like something that's happened to you that you're able to fix. So that's kind of been quite interesting. So, but looking more into switching on every day.
Okay.
Because I think it is a genuine ritual you have to do. Now, for those who don't, I've written a little bit of an example. For those who don't realise what switching on is, the best example I can give is, say you're in a bar or a pub. I mean, this is before the global crisis, but you're in a public place and you meet eyes with a sexual partner across the room, and you realise she's going to be my next victim. Right, as soon as that happens, loads of calculations go through your head, right? What's the size of her corpse going to be? Will she be missed? You know, how moisturized is her skin? Does she moisturize enough? Does she exfoliate? Is it going to stick to me when I start to wear it? You know, all these different this process starts in your mind when you encounter any large task, such as capturing and beheading a stranger. You then start to get to work. You get this you start to realise stuff, you start to plan stuff, and then you get to work. And the thing when you get to work on a project, if there's a clear objective and then there's clear progress towards that objective, you're incredibly productive. You're zoned in, you're switched on to the task at hand, you're able to do it. Same as if you're going to clean your house. How are you going to get the bloodstains out? You know, there's scratch marks on the walls. You need to figure out what room to do, what room to start with, and how you're going to progress. You know, how many bin bags is she going to need to fit in? You know, all these kind of things. So it's just it's switching on for me is just being activated and being present about pursuing a project. I mean, I've said before, I switched on when I went to Tesco to pick up my wallet because I was like, I could be attacked at any moment. You know, you have to be zoned in. You have to be like, what are my escape routes?
Yeah.
You know, is there enough fuel in the car? You know, if they attack from the right, what do I do? If they attack from the left? Just being very present in the moment. But genuinely, you get this happening with loads of different things. Take showering, for example. If you don't shower at the start of your day, you're going to have a different experience of the start of your day until you shower than if you were to wake up and shower straight away. That's just a personal experience of terms of if I shower in the afternoon as opposed to showering in the morning, my morning feels different. I don't feel like I've started the day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yeah, I completely understand. I'll have a very different morning if I get out of bed and get dressed straight away as opposed to going downstairs first and having to come back and get dressed later on, because that action in itself is the start of your day. Sort of. Yeah.
And I used to put it down to, people need rituals, people need habits, people need this, and that's weak. But there's a definite subconscious thing that goes on where your brain will try its best to avoid, will procrastinate the best that it can before doing a task, because your body just wants to sleep all day. If your body had the choice, it would just stay laid down because it's safe. You're going to recover.
You take the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
That will still allow you to survive, because that's all your body cares about. Am I still alive?
I mean, take running, for example. I've got a friend who started running efficiently, as in they've been doing it for like 30 days straight now. And I was trying to explain that the weird mental gap you have of like, I don't really want to go running today. When you overcome that and you do go running, you feel incredible. But you go, where's the logic in that, right? Your body knows that if you go running, you're going to be feeling much, much better. You're going to be feeling more endorphins. You're going to be more awake, more senses. Everything's going to be happening. But your body just doesn't want to do it because it's something to do. And you'd be like, no, I just want to sleep.
Yeah. And
that's the difference. Is I think it's you have to. That's the difference. That's a metaphorical difference between your subconscious and your conscious mind, and which do you want to lead, or how do you make them connect, which is kind of switching on in my example. Because your subconscious may want to go out, but your conscious wants to stay in. You may feel feeling lazy. There's all these different aspects of your personality or your self that need to all work together in order to be 100% productive. So you got your physical self, I've said that, your subconscious, so like all your emotions and shit, and your conscious mind, just thinking. Just those three as an example, they all need to be in sync to do something. And on a subconscious level, something like getting dressed, getting showered, and something to officially start your day, I think is way more beneficial than I had considered before. Because yes, you will be switched on in a fight or flight situation, like picking up your wallet from Tesco, right? How many people do you have to kill? Will you be able to escape? But I think on a day-to-day, you still need to make those efforts to switch on, to kind of be like, right, no, yeah, I've started, this has begun, now I need to figure out how I'm going to proceed with the rest of the day, as opposed to the natural procrastination thing.
Yeah, well, like when you were in full like Terminator mode, whenever the fuck that was, uni, like that lifestyle you had was very reliant upon routine.
Yeah. Well, just more than routine as well. I think it was a clear goal. And I think as well, there's a difference when you're younger, because I think there's an idea in your head that you decide upon when you're young. And I say young as when you're a teenager, for example, that, right, life's actually going to begin when I'm 21.
Yeah.
So everything else before that isn't irrelevant, but it's like preparation. And you organize. I organized it in my head as, when I leave university, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. So when I get to that point, I'm going to be doing all of this preparation stuff, even though it's taxing. I mean, there were points where I was going to the gym 3 times a day, which was great. Which was really, really good and really, really productive, and fought off my diabetes for a while. But it was the way that I'd organised it in my mind. You just go like, yeah, no, this makes sense. Let's do X, Y, Z, so then you can get to the finish line. And now that we're past the age of 21, there's this weird rationalisation that loads of people make of like, if I was going to do this, I would have done it by now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just not. What's that? All the best people died when they were 27. So I'm older than 27, so I'm not one of the best people.
Yeah.
You know, there's a load of those different rationalizations, which makes sense because you're no longer preparing for life. Life is now. You should be in diving into it right now.
Yeah.
So why would you prepare?
Well, it's just people talk about themselves as though they're not malleable, as though they're this fixed thing. Like, oh, I'm not the kind of person that would do that. I'm not the kind of person that does that. And it's like, no, but like you grew into what you are now, which means that you compounded a bunch of habits and different scenarios into what you are now. So what would it take to make you that kind of person that you're saying you're not?
Yeah.
That would go to the gym and exercise often, that would eat properly and have a good work ethic and everything.
But it makes sense, right? Because like people get distracted in their early 20s, so then they kind of get to a point, or throughout the whole of life, really. But in our example, just distracted in your early 20s, where you kind of get to points like, okay, and I'm here now. I was in a relationship that ended. I was in a relationship, now we're married. You have all this kind of weird different things. You just kind of wake up one day when you kind of I'd say I didn't become an adult till I was at least 25. But even then I would say like, even now, I'd be like, now I start to feel like I'm an adult.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. It definitely took me longer. And I think this isn't, I don't say this is a cop out. I think it's just how it is. Like men do mature like much slower than women. Like I know girls that had their shit together at like 22 and that still have their shit together now, and it never faded, it never slipped. When but at that same thing, I think it's a thing of kind of getting things in order right away, not necessarily having like a long-term goal, but just seeing the kind of person that you want to be, and then figuring out later on what that will allow you to achieve.
Yeah, or just switching on. I think you get into a phase. I think everybody goes through a phase where they are unproductive for a long period of time. It's just mine's been 10 years, but like there's a weird activation point where you just be like, well, yes, I should have been ready when I was 21, but I wasn't. Loads of things didn't go right, so then you go, well, what's the answer? And I think a lot of people's answer is the path of least resistance, the physical aspect of, well, I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing now, and then some kind of divine intervention will come and make me sort my life out, right? I mean, take having children. That becomes another phase of, right, in 9 months or 6 months, I'm going to have a child, so I'm going to have to prepare for these 6 months to start my life at that point. And then when there's other checkpoints in life that occur, but if you don't, and what I would classify those are kind of divine intervention. Just life gives you objectives that you have to figure out instead of yourself giving yourself objectives. Yeah. So yeah, I think there's a whole period where people just kind of bob around doing nothing, kind of getting by, and they don't engage, they don't switch on and decide to become effective. Yeah, that's how I would phrase it.
I think people
trying to figure out that every day.
People just kind of see how, and I'm guilty of this as well, is that like you have a goal for yourself, but I see how difficult it is to get there, and it puts me off doing it. And like this, it's because we've been doing all this weird gardening shit recently, but I heard, like I heard
radishes.
Well, no, there was a guy talking about trees or something. And he said like the best time to plant a tree is 7 years ago. The next best time is now.
I've heard that phrase somewhere.
And it makes sense. Like if something's difficult to do or is going to be hard to do now, it's going to be infinitesimally more difficult to do it tomorrow or next week or whatever. Because the more you do the same thing, the more you tread the same roads, like the more you ingrain those habits in your head. And if they've been there for 10 years, it's going to be more difficult for you to get them out of your system when they've been there for 15 years. Like it's better to like just face how difficult things are now as opposed to waiting for them to get worse if you actually want to be a different person or be a better person or whatever.
Yeah. So I think that explains the excuses you make to yourself as opposed to there's a reason where you've got an objective but you make excuses to avoid it or to not do it.
Yeah.
But I think there's also another aspect where people they make plans in their mind that they don't actually want to do. I mean, we've said before, running, right? I think you started running a while ago. Sometimes there's a feeling of, well, I should really start running. I think that's what I should do. And it might not necessarily be what you actually want. So you're actually trying to prepare to put in the time to achieve something that you don't necessarily want on a deep level.
Yeah.
And I think that's also a level of confusion that people get to being like, well, it's about time I started enjoying Marmite, so I'm just going to start ordering a fuck ton of Marmite, and then that's going to, you either love it or you hate it, right? I've got to pick a side. It's just like, you don't have to do that. You just need, the first good thing to do is to figure out what it is you actually want. And that's a whole big process. I went through a phase in my early 20s when I thought I wanted to be an actor. I would still like to act, but I don't want to be an actor. I never wanted to be an actor all the time. I wanted to be a performer, right? I wanted to be somewhat of a writer, and there was definitely a performance side that I was doing, and I was confusing that with acting. And I would still act today, but it wasn't my primary driving force until one point I sat down. I was like, actually, I'd rather perform this than Shakespeare. I would actually rather go and perform to this kind of crowd rather than to a theatre kind of crowd. And it's a whole process of a confusing process of when you're young, you make a plan and you feel obligated to stick to that plan. My example I've given before is I decided I didn't like eggs when I was 6, and I didn't change that decision until I was 20. Because I made that decision already. I don't like eggs.
Moving on.
Well, who made it? That 6-year-old, that wise 6-year-old that knew, was just like, no, just take it every day to try to figure out to reevaluate your belief system and figure out what it is you want. So I think there's another whole process of genuinely going introspective and figuring out what it is you actually want, then make the plan, and then don't make excuses when it comes to doing the plan. So, and what helps with that is trying to align your subconscious, your conscious, and your physical self. The pyramid of power. Just little things. I mean, I can't remember the example I gave before, but there's loads of examples in my life of what's the fable of the lion and the mouse with the thorn in his paw? The lion's got a thorn in his paw or something.
Yeah.
And then a mouse comes and takes the thorn out of the paw of the lion, and the lion was like, "Oh, leave me alone." Yeah. There's a weird subconscious thing that goes along when you're in pain that you justify being in pain, even if it's physical pain. I've noticed. I've said before, I've got some joint issues at the moment that they're getting tested for soon. But it was encroaching on whenever I wash my hands. My hands are really dry because I'm washing my hands with a new soap, whatever. I started moisturizing my hands. I felt better about my life. It's a stupid thing, and it's like, no, your happiness shouldn't rely on moisturized hands. But it was a self-love that I gave myself, and a self-management that was like, this is actually taking care of yourself. Yeah. You're making progress towards managing your own physical being and managing your health. And it was just like, well, when I started doing that, I was like, well, I should probably I used to do lots of self-management when I was in Terminator mode, whatever you say, which was years ago when I was properly in the zone, I'd say, for a number of years, where I was just head down and working on a task. Where I was just like, I should start taking care of my body and taking care of myself again. I mean, It's a small thing, but I was surprised at how, maybe I'm just in a bad place, but I was surprised at how much of a difference starting to take physical care of yourself actually started to propel me towards a clearer way of thinking. Just little things like showering in the morning, washing, moisturizing your hands, whatever it is. But there's this active thing of the difference was my project is now me, because I realized that there was things about me that I could potentially change. And I would be better about changing that. So that's where it ties into abuse. Is just, there was a lot of characteristics that I've experienced. I can either hold on to them, and I was holding on to them before because I was like, it's damage, it's whatever it is. But now that I kind of go like, I didn't have this damage before, I've had it because of X, Y, Z, I'm able to change it, so start working towards that. And I've just had a productivity increase in my mind. And it's about now trying to maintain it by every day switching on, actively working that muscle to try and start looking after yourself. So yeah, strange week, to be fair.
Yeah.
Oh, small thing. I mentioned... again, it's a weird taboo subject, but if I can realise and benefit from the realisation that I had suffered abuse in abusive relationships, and that's given me a positive, there's a weird part of me that's like, hey, there's loads of other people out there that are probably feeling exactly how I was, and still am, but haven't even questioned to think, maybe I was abused. So if you want to, it was mankind.org.uk. They've got they've got an escape button if you're into that kind of thing. They've got a phone line that's open Monday to Friday, I think 9 till 5, something like that. The number I'll put on the screen, and for the listeners, it's 01823 334 244.
UK listeners, this is, isn't it?
UK listeners, yeah. I did email the guy because I was like, it didn't make any sense to me that there was only hotlines for this kind of thing during the day, during the work week. I guess it does make sense because for people to man it, etc. But I did email them and was like, is there a 24-hour thing? Is there an email address that you're able to do? And they kind of said no, but maybe we'll subscribe to your podcast. I told them. I didn't tell them the name of our podcast. Because I thought it'd be weird if we started getting monitored by an abuse charity.
Yeah. No.
Given all the weird shit that we talk about. But there's a weird thing, and the journey as well. Because I think I had this realization like Monday or Tuesday morning, and I was like, that'd be an interesting thing to talk about. There's a funny escape story to go into that. But there's a weird taboo. There's a weird brush that you feel yourself be painted by, where I've thought if I tell the world that I have suffered a lot of abuse, they'll look at me differently. It's a weird... And I don't care about the way that they look at me differently, but it was an interesting hesitation about being open and honest about something. And I've been open and honest about loads of random shit on the podcast before. So... In an effort to kind of de-taboo it, just be like, everyone experiences these things. It's about how you move forward, about going on with it.
I think the issue that a lot of people have with stuff like that is they almost feel, a lot of the time they almost feel like a fraud for admitting for talking about it, because like, well, I think. By that definition, I have been abused. Not me. I'm royal me, whatever. But I haven't had it as bad as this guy and this guy, and this guy's had a horrible life. And I think there's probably like a thing of like, well, if I don't have as much cause to complain as those guys, then maybe I really shouldn't complain. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's the key difference is like, because I have, I'd say it's a weird competition, right? But I've definitely suffered through some very controversial psychological abuse throughout my life. But there's also elements where I've been in relationships that were just like, this person's crazy. This person's just crazy and I'm dealing with crazy. You know what? People are crazy. I'm just going to move on. So, and by moving on, I didn't realise that I was able to properly delete that experience. And when I mean like completely move forward on it. Just something as simple as, I think the example I gave was self-image. And be like, just don't let that affect you. As in, you acknowledge why you're experiencing something and then figure out how to tackle it and move forward. Because, me saying that I was... This, again, feels very strange to keep on saying it, but I agree with you. If someone claims themselves to be a victim of abuse, there's such a large spectrum that you automatically go towards the top end, which is like stabbing and setting people on fire. But you go like, it's important to look at the whole picture and be like, not to see yourself as a victim, because again, I don't see myself as experiencing any victimness, but I think I've experienced things rather than suffered things. Not because I'm a stronger person, but because it just affected me in a different way. So it's not that anybody else would go through it better or worse. It's just I've gone through bad things, like the idea of grief, right? Grief will affect the most close related people to the person who's passed, but it's still going to affect the people related to the people experiencing the grief. It doesn't mean that it's the same grief. It just means that it's got a ripple effect that's going to cause problems. So if somebody passed away that you don't know the person, but you're friends with the person who knew them, you're going to experience some kind of side effect of witnessing somebody going through grief.
Yeah.
It's going to have another kind of ripple effect. So it's not classing yourself as the victim or classing yourself as the sufferer. It's just like, no, that was a thing that happened in my life and I should address it. Whether it was traumatic or not, it could have just caused you in a negative way. Just be like, you know what, I'm going to think about it. I'm going to figure out how to deal with it.
Yeah.
So, weird self-reflective week.
Yeah.
But biggest thing that I've pulled from it is, I because of realising all that stuff, I remembered actively switching off, actively disengaging with myself in an effort to protect myself from emotional pain. And I can feel myself kind of switching back on. And there's a bunch of different things that I did in order to get myself switched on. And it's important to do that every day, even if it is just waking up and having a shower and starting your day.
Yeah.
It feels like a very productive message that I feel isn't really... I couldn't find broadcast anyway, really. So I was like, it's a good... If somebody told me that, I'd be like, yes, I agree with that. Maybe I'll start doing that. So
yeah,
maybe could reach somebody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, habit and routine is how we function, really. Like, it's what makes things easier, even the things that seem difficult to some people. Like, you have, like, people go on about guys like The Rock and guys like Joe Rogan and be like, how in the fuck do they fit so much into their day? And it's like, well, it didn't happen all at once. They solidified one habit, and then they solidified the next, and then they solidified the next, and over years and years of that, and like a good work ethic, and none of them no one who has that kind of lifestyle has said, hey, this shit's easy. But they do make a point of being like, anybody can do it. It's not easy, but it's compounding habits and routines and like a bunch of stuff to the point where you're doing so much stuff, but it's automatic for you as a person to be doing so much stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely an aspect of that. I just think that there's a step before. I think before you engage in your daily habits and your daily routines, you need to activate, you need to engage, you need to become present in when you waking up from being in a different situation or whatever. So before these people go through their daily habits, I'm sure there's some kind of mental checklist you go through just to be like, right, what do I need to do today? Okay, how am I going to do it? Okay, right, I need to begin. A lot of people say, oh, my day starts when I drink a cup of coffee, or my day starts when I have a shower. It's just whatever it is, there needs to be a thing that signifies the start of your day. Yeah. Because then you can start to plan your habits. Because even if you have those habits, you can be like, I'll do them today, but I'll get around to it. Or I'll put it off on some way. There needs to be some kind of adult, right? No, I have to engage. So I'm going to start my day, and this is how I'm going to do it. Even if it's something like shaving, whatever. It's not like I'm only avoiding the terms habit and ritual because I feel like before you perform the ritual, you need to get in the headspace to perform the ritual. So it's something about doing that. And again, maybe that is something about the place that I'm in at the moment, that I'm not in that place by default. But I find that to be a good target already, is to be like, no, just every day, start. You need to start every day and switch on and engage with stuff rather than I'll get around to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, on that note, I've got a spare couch, so I was trying to figure out whether I should set fire to it or not. I did Google it. I just found the answer quite funny, because I was like, well, I've got this spare couch. It's just on its side on the end of the room. Let's clean up my headspace. Let's clean up my living room. Maybe I could just set fire to it. I found this blurb as the first answer from Google. Just as logs would sit in a fire pit, so do couches. Especially if it's drenched in kerosene or gasoline, or just lit with a match. Then it says, many couches burn in 15 minutes or less, though the ones with box springs do take longer. It makes sense, metal burns slower than wood.
Yeah.
Pleather and vinyl couches are avoided because they smell bad and they sometimes explode. So it's another good reason to be switched on in your day-to-day. I was going to burn a couch in my garden. I didn't realise it could possibly explode. We set fire to that TV at uni and that exploded, but did. Not really. It just popped.
Yeah, but it was a weird moment because it sounded like it was going to get a lot worse.
Yeah, there was a screech increased.
Yeah, like someone had switched a bomb.
Yeah. Yeah, like something powering weird. Up, but it was I think the vacuum inside the TV just compressing or whatever, and then just pop.
But then at the same time, we put actual fireworks in the bin and in the shed, and
this is true.
Put a bag on one, it shot into a tree and nearly set the tree on fire. That was great.
Yeah, tried to light a rocket that I'd accidentally really wedged into the ground.
Too far into the ground.
Well, you meant to put it in a tube that's in the ground. I just put the stick in the ground, so it just set fire, stood in place, and then exploded.
Everyone else ran back into the house.
Yeah.
And you were in the hedge.
Yeah. So a good reason to switch on is you start to think twice about setting fire to your furniture without realising that they could explode. Some other news articles I've got, but I'll burn through them because we spent 43 minutes laughing about abuse. A bull with an itchy arse knocked a transformer off an electricity pole as he tried to scratch his backside. Cut power to 800 homes. So... If anything, that bull was too switched on. Switched on so much. How am I going to deal with this problem? My arse is itching, and that's a transformer. Put together, let's do this.
Yeah, it's that weird. Like a bull doesn't have a concept of what that thing.
The consequences.
Yeah. And it doesn't know what power is. It doesn't. There's no concept of what human life is. Is there stuff that humanity does that has a bigger picture effect on cosmic entities that we don't know or understand? In that same respect, where we're just scratching our arse and we're destroying lives.
The owner of the bull said she was amazed that Ron had even survived. I mean, there's that other aspect as well. We're destroying the world by scratching our asses, and it's kind of amazing that we're still alive. Ron the bull cut power to 3 villages. Oh, Ron. You cheeky bastard. This next article follows on from, I think, last week when you were saying... a woman didn't think she looked like a deer and got killed by an alligator or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on a similar vein, a woman illegally entered Yellowstone National Park and fell into a hot spring while taking pictures.
Okay.
If you don't know what a hot spring is, it's incredibly hot lava-fueled water pool.
Well, you get the Iceland ones, which is a jacuzzi.
Yeah. These ones weren't.
A bit warmer.
People die from these. But the thing I found interesting, similar, why I liken it to the I'm not a deer, Leonard, story from last week, that she kind of had this self-realisation where I think the deer victim said, well, I'm not going to do this again.
Yeah.
This woman, despite her burns from the fall, drove 50 miles until being pulled over by park rangers. She didn't wave for help.
Yeah.
The park rangers pulled her over. That burnt woman shouldn't be driving that car.
And you can see it from a distance.
There's a camera melted into her face. Hot spring. Pull over. You shouldn't be that burnt and driving. And she was taken by a helicopter to a hospital. Fuck cars. You need to get there by sky.
Yeah, you need to be air cooled.
Yeah. It's fucking intense. In similar news, a man who was walking off a boardwalk near Old Faithful, which I believe is in Yellowstone as well, fell into the hot spring and also suffered serious burns. Whoop.
What's the most dangerous thing in a park in England? Like a swan, maybe?
Yeah. Well, they can break your bones. Oh, but some people dispute that.
Oh, well, I always heard that, but I'm pretty sure I could kick a swan in the face and like fend it off.
Maybe, but the will of the moment, if that swan is more switched on than you are that day, you're gonna lose.
That swan had a shower this morning.
Yeah. Which makes I'm still exploring at the moment, which is why the kind of idea is kind of still a little bit all over the place. But I've also believed in a lot of things when it comes to fighting geese or swans, for example. If you're not in the right headspace, you're not going to be effective.
No.
Like, I'm 6'4".
Don't go for the neck.
Because of my height and weight, I'm able to be a problem for anybody if my headspace is in the right place. If I can just become difficult and actively engage. This is what I read lots of Andy McNab when I was a kid, right? It was all about being in the right headspace. But like, if you've got the will to just charge somebody and you're properly motivated and properly switched on, you're going to be an issue. You don't have to be some kind of super skilled bastard. It can be like, you're still going to become a problem for somebody than if you were just kind of half-assed trying to escape an abduction.
Yeah. So,
yeah. In the realest of senses, if that swan was more switched on than you could lose. Be switched on. And elsewhere in Yellowstone in 2016, a 23-year-old fell into a superheated acidic mud pot at Yellowstone, and he died.
Why have they got acid pools open to the public?
Don't superheat them. Oh, don't worry, it's acidic.
Yeah. We put a sign up.
Yeah, all right. Isn't this where fucking Yogi Bear hangs out?
Yeah. He's stealing picnic baskets and just being a rascal.
Yeah, setting up traps near the superheated mud acidic pots. I want barbecue today. Or whatever his accent is, I can't remember.
Yeah.
And lastly, I've still got more. But the last article from me is the Dutch government has issued some new guidance regarding coronavirus. Because apparently there was lots of suggestions that there's lots of advice out there for people in relationships, but not for single people. Because, they're like, if you're in a relationship, just don't have sex if you're infected, and otherwise everything's kind of A-OK. The National Institute for Public Health and the Environment said Singleton should come to an arrangement with someone else.
Right.
They should find a fuck buddy.
Isn't that just...
This is government advice.
That's just do what people do.
Well,
if you were a person, what would you do?
Commit to one person. They say that pairing should avoid sex if one of them is infected. Makes sense.
Yeah, with anything.
Yeah. They say it makes sense as a single person that you also want to have physical contact. It's a very cold... I guess single people should have physical relationships with people as well.
Yeah.
Good, thanks, Dutch government. Should singletons choose to engage in sex, precautions should be taken to minimise. They discussed you should discuss how best to do this together. For example, meet with the same person to have physical or sexual contact. For example, a cuddle buddy or a sex buddy. Don't have to go full sex. You could just have a cuddle buddy. Make good arrangements with this person and how many other people you see. The more people you see, the greater chance of infection. They're just telling single people to get in relationships, basically.
Yeah.
They said that sex with yourself or with others at a distance is possible. It adds suggesting erotic stories and masturbating together as possible solutions. So remain 2 meters apart and you can still have sex. Just, have you tried wanking on them from afar? Well, they told you a story of some kind. Weird NHS guideline. I mean, it's the Netherlands, but still, can't imagine a doctor is prescribing this, apparently. It must be, right?
Yeah.
The government just can't give medical advice without some doctor saying, yeah, just wank from afar.
Yeah.
That should be fine. So if you're in the Netherlands, it's okay to... and with yourself by self-distancing as well.
Yeah.
So there's hope in the Netherlands. And the last article from me, I just liked the headline. I looked into the story and it was boring. But a black healthcare worker was shot dead 8 times by police in his own home.
He was killed 8 times?
Killed 8 times! Shot to death 8 consecutive times.
That's unlucky. Like,
give him a break.
Yeah, there comes a point where you have to be like, that's not coincidence, that's racism.
Well, he killed me 8 times, Your Honour.
Yeah.
Just seems harsh. Didn't understand. And
I like that the rest of the story was boring.
Yeah, well, they obviously went on to explain that they were shot 8 times and then they died.
Yeah.
But it was just
badly written.
The headline is specifically from The Independent.
I was killed 8 times.
At least 8 times. Stupid people. But yeah, that's me for this week.
All right, just a few things. A restaurant in Virginia is set to seat mannequins at empty tables to make social distancing less awkward.
Don't get me wrong, I'm sure that would work. What did we see? I Am Legend? He did that in I Am Legend.
Yeah, but these people going to the restaurant aren't going insane for lack of contact. Like, he's...
Might be. But he went into an HMV or something like that, and there was mannequins up looking at stuff, and he had conversations with them.
Yeah.
Last Man on Earth, he was talking to somebody.
Yeah.
What was he talking to? It's gone out of my mind. Oh, balls.
Yeah. The ones he set up in the bar.
Yeah, tennis balls and volleyballs and stuff like that. So I think it's not the most insane thing in the world.
No, but if you went to a restaurant, would you feel more awkward next to an empty table, or next to one of a mum and dad and 2 kids dressed in the new season's clothing from Next?
With no face,
missing
heads,
with no eyes, 3 fingers.
Yeah, but then
posed as though they're eating chips.
You could embalm people who've died in situations and put them in that might be a bit more humanistic, right?
Maybe they could do it like those weird exhibits you get at museums, when you've got the dinosaurs posed and then they play the noises and battle music and shit over the top as though the dinosaurs are actually fighting. But they're just staying still. You just have a couple next to you posed as mannequins, and then they're having this massive argument. Yeah,
this ridiculously horrific argument. How did you get a D in geography?
Waiters!
Can I get another milkshake, please? Yeah. I'm gonna call the police! Alright, everything's normal now, so it kind of makes sense. I reckon there's validity in it. I reckon there is. I think it's very surreal to accept. But I reckon people like myself, I'd feel... Well, I don't know. I'd have to try both. I'd have to go into the mannequin cafe and the non-mannequin Burger King and see what the difference is. But that could probably help with your psychosis.
It's just strange to me. Have you done any online dating since all this stuff started?
Not really. I did go on one date, but that was with someone that I previously dated briefly a long time ago.
It was like a Zoom thing.
Yeah, and it was FaceTime or something, or WhatsApp or something in a car park.
Oh, maybe it's a thing then. There's a company that started selling fake muscles and fake boobs for people on Zoom dates. Stuff to put under their shirts.
Right.
But it's just a torso thing.
Just a torso thing?
Yeah, well, they can't see your legs, so...
They're not selling legs. Paraplegics are making a killing on the online dating market right now. It makes sense, but only because people are fucking ridiculous anyway.
I guess.
High heels and, I don't know, chicken fillets and sock bulges or whatever.
Yeah.
People do anything to try and think of, this is what relationships are, right? This is how important how much debt have you got? Heard it on a podcast a while ago. It's very important. It's not just like connect to someone, but there's probably a whole dating market for people just looking for release of some kind.
Yeah.
So maybe it's built for that.
It's just I don't get it, but I haven't been in the dating thing for a long time.
Well, the wig game is stepped up. If you start wearing wigs in your Zoom dates, you've got to keep that wig up for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Well, there's loads of weird. I've never. I'm trying to think. I think there's a few tics that I've been put off by, like different people doing different facial expressions in terms of their mannerisms. I felt to be quite strange sometimes. Just like somebody who clicks all the time, I couldn't connect to. I don't know why, but there was a weird resistance there. But people have it with height a lot of the time, don't they? Where,
yeah.
Like, have you watched any? Again, I only know this from podcasts, but 90 Day Fiancé Before the 90 Days. Did you watch any of that?
No.
That's really viral at the moment in a lot of podcasts, and it's basically 90 Day Fiancé, so it's basically marrying someone within 90 days.
Right.
For a green card or whatever. And the biggest there's a guy on there who has no neck. He just hasn't got a neck. Right, and the first thing the woman, I think a Colombian woman or something like that, meets him, she says, "You told me you were 5'10" and you're not." So, the guy hasn't got a neck.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's intense. Like, yeah, he's not tall. He'd be taller if he had a fucking neck. It's quite a nice guy, but then he got paranoid and fucked it up and everything. But my point is, everyone's got their own weird dating requirements. You need to. I think I've sent you Tinder screenshots I've had of like, I'm tired of people messaging me who aren't Filipino. All right, so this woman would only date Filipino men.
Yeah.
Same with like hair color, but height is a really big one. It's never been a consideration for me. But I do think I've had a different dating experience because I'm tall-ish.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not give yourself fake muscles and fake breasts if you think that's going to help?
I suppose.
That person's not switched on. I'll put it that way.
We've done some stuff about lonely animals in zoos.
Oh yeah.
And so penguins from a zoo in Missouri enjoyed a morning of fine art at a local museum, which is good.
Were they taken there or did they escape?
They were taken there. They were taken there
okay.
and let loose around the museum of paintings.
Have you seen Night at the Museum 2? Yeah, we're thinking about just doing that for real. Do you mind?
It says there was a live feed for people at home, so you can watch the penguins watching paintings.
You could watch them try and understand the latest impressionists.
Yeah, well, it also says they seem to be drawn to Italian Baroque techniques. Reacting
could
more.
Be true. It could be true. I'm not laughing against it. It could be true.
They reacted more favourably to Caravaggio than to Monet.
Oh, okay.
So.
How do you judge a penguin's favour?
I don't know.
Fuck me. Gives it a fish. This group of penguins gave Monet a fish.
Well, what would you do if it feeds a chick? It'd vomit, right? Like,
lovely piece.
Yeah.
Lovely piece. I guess they got to get as much media attention as they can.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're just going to go out of business.
And there was one in Chicago that sent their penguins to an aquarium, which again seems backwards logic to send fish-eating birds to an aquarium. But I guess they're behind glass. You do what you got to do.
Don't call it a buffet. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
Press will love it.
Yeah. And finally, a commission in Dayton, which I think is the council, let's say the council of Dayton, Ohio, has banned wearing masks while committing crimes.
They believe in the honour system in Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah.
If you're going to rob a bank, please take off your mask first. Out of consideration. We just don't want.
Yeah.
You can, like, eating grapes at the supermarket is technically theft, right? And I guess you'd ask them to remove their mask first. Just anything that would help us, please.
If you don't take your mask off, we're going to have trouble identifying you. Oh.
But the sentencing will be worse because you've broken the law of wearing a mask while committing a crime. So if they do catch you, they tack on extra years because, well, he wore his mask when he shouldn't have been.
I was worried about getting the virus.
No. There's a dress code to all crimes now.
Yeah.
And you have broken that dress code.
And you're robbing a bank. There's already a glass screen.
Yeah. It's a waste of PPE. You have to get more body bags in.
Yeah, that's it from me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird week. Week. We mentioned last week that Boris Johnson was going to release some kind of plan to ease back into society, and we kind of said it's probably not going to be anything. It wasn't really anything. It's just now you can go for a walk more than once. Yeah. It's pretty much my understanding of it. Oh, but I think that's where my whole thought process, that's one of the firing triggers for me when about switching on, because it was no longer feasible to wait for things to reopen. Yeah. Because we've been in this for like 2 months now, I think. And the basic prediction is it's going to be at least another 2 months before things return to normal. And return to normal for everybody is different. But for me, it's sitting in a sauna with other people, i.e. me going to my gym, going for a swim, and then having a sauna. Yeah. For me, that would be like, right, things are back to normal. I feel good. And that's going to be the last thing to be reinstated because of just how ridiculously contagious a sauna probably is. So, like, that led me on to a way of thinking of, like, I can't wait until my sauna opens up again because it could be at minimum 2 months. I need to start looking after myself and waiting for the gym to do that. So, that's I think that's what triggered a lot of this inward thinking and trying to look for change. Yeah. So, and I think they pushed the furlough stuff towards October as well. Yeah, they said they pushed the scheme over to end in October. Or they extended it to October. Whether it will end, I don't know. But companies don't have to take it up because at the end of the day, whatever money they take is money they're going to have to pay back. So but it's that or lose your workforce. I read something interesting that there is there's restaurants in it might have been Baltimore, but I could swear it was South America. It was not South America. It was more southern. Where they'd opened back up, and the workers were refusing to come back because they get more money from unemployment benefit than they do from being paid by the restaurant, which is fucking sad. Yeah, well, that implies that the restaurant's not paying the minimum. Well, in America, they don't have to wage. Yeah, it's a weird one. Yeah, because they live off tips or whatever. Yeah, lots of things are going to change in terms of the types of jobs, the availability of jobs, and like there could be more work-at-home jobs, and a lot of people are going to be moved away from certain fields. Like I said, 0-hour contracts. I can't imagine as many people taking them. After it all goes back, people still need to work, and if there's no jobs, they'll take the 0-hour contract. But lots of things are going to change. It's going to be interesting to witness. I think it'll be fun. Yeah, but I've got to go and do a barbecue anyway, so let's wrap it up. Okay, jeez. So anyway, I'm going to start leaning more into stories of my abuse. Probably be another hour or two. And see. Oh, but you've got your barbecue, right? So I guess you don't want to hear about all this. Call me. Call me afterwards. All right. No, I think that's another thing about the whole thing is people expect it to be treated in a different way. It's all about you are who you are. It's just a different terminology to what you've gone through, and you can be whoever you want to be in the future. Unless you want to wear someone's skin, then you need to make sure that they moisturise properly and that their corpse can fit in a reasonable amount of bags. Yeah. Anyway, I'm at Nick Snip. I'm at Sing It Steve. We're at Pulling Teeth Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and we're at Pulling Teeth Podcast on Facebook. Is that the order we've got to do it in now? Yeah. Or at least those three together. Yeah, okay. And you can email us at wisdom@pullingteethpodcast.com. Send us all your articles and your funny shit. Yeah, just if you want to interact
Or not
with us.
funny shit, just interesting shit.
Yeah.
Don't ask us about, like, how'd you do with getting over a relationship, because I don't care.
We just don't care. We'll just refer you to a 3-year-old who's already figured all that kind of stuff out.
He's learned to spell dad on his
Life
blocks.
is hard. It will get better.
Yeah.
Time.
There you go.
Very easy
Done.
answer. And we've got the website, pullingteethpodcast.com, which now has an Amazon banner, which we keep on forgetting to mention. At the top of the page, if you click on that and then do your normal Amazon shopping, we'll get a kickback, which will help the podcast. You won't have to pay anything extra. It's just a little recommendation fee they'll give us back if you want to support us by doing that.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Cool.
So yeah, fun times. We covered the Yellowstone boiling people who accidentally boiled in a geyser and then got helicoptered in. Weird conversation about abuse, which I think is going to come out a strange thing in the edit. We'll see how
I think it'll work.
Good work. We've had the odd introspective episode, I think. We've had the odd 40 minutes of strange conversation, followed by a bull scratching its ass to lose power to everybody else. So
Yeah.
we're pulling teeth.
Yeah.